Okay, hello everyone again. So in this video, I'm gonna show you now two two objects on our status bar right here. I'm gonna show you the object snap tracking right here. As you can see there, that's our F11. And I'm gonna show you our line weight display right here. So when you see this right here, you know that your layers, as we set them up, the line type and the line weights are different for each one of those layers, but we don't really see the difference right here. When it prints, you will see the difference, but you don't see it right now. But if you wanted to see your line weight, and you said, okay, let me see just to make sure that I can see it, I have to go right here to my hamburger, make sure that I check anything that it's check mark right here, it's showing up right here. But remember that just because it shows up right here doesn't mean that it's automatically active. We have to go and select it and make sure that it's blue so that it's active, and if it's grayed out, then that means it's inactive. Now if I go to my object snap tracking right here, it's active. If I go to my line weight right here, it's active. Those two things are what we're supposed to see on our status bar for this unit. So I know they're visible right here, so I simply go and say, well, let me check on my line weight display, and look what's going to happen. See, it allows me to see the line weight of each one of those layers. There's my border, which seems to be the one with the thickest line weight. Then I have my object, and then I have my hidden lines, and I have my center lines being the thinness of the line. So I'm able to see, to display them, and being able to properly see the line weight of each one of those layers. And I can see it just for visual purposes. I can see it. It shows me that everything is in the right layer and it has the right properties for each layer. And if I don't want to see it that way, I can always go and turn it off again, and then I can see my drawing. Now the other thing that I want to show you is this one right here. Very, very helpful. Our object snap tracking. What does that mean? Look, I know you're gonna create this right here, so I'm not gonna necessarily just do it so that you can see how that's gonna be created, but to represent what this object snap tracking does. See, my distance in between my views is supposed to be 1.5, so I'm going to start with a regular line right here. But if I activate this right here, now it's active right here. So normally what I would do, I would offset this line 1.5 and then continue from there, or I can draw a line from here, click, and then go 1.5. That gives me this line. Then I can start drawing here. But look what happens. If I just go and place my cursor right here, it gives me that end point or intersecting point reference. And then if I just place it there, I'm not going to click, but if I just go and slowly move it, see how it gives me that broken line right there? That tells me that is my F11. That is my object snap tracking. It temporarily allows me to move from one point to another without necessarily clicking anything. It just tells me. So I'm telling my computer right now that from this reference point, I want to start something 1.5 units away. So if I type 1.5 enter, it actually goes and starts there. And I'm gonna deactivate my F8 so that I can just go in that direction. Now I will have to have my F8 on if I want to go straight right here or across. But if I go, for example, and I want to create a line that it's the same length as this one, because they're supposed to be the same thing right here, right? They're both are the same front end point of the front view or the left side of the right side view. So if I want to make a line that length, I can simply go and say, I'm going to go up in this direction, this distance, and I go again. Don't click on anything, just place your cursor there and slowly move it. When you see that broken line going, you'll see that eventually it will create right here a 90-degree angle, and that is the distance of my line. And if I said, well, but I also needed to go all the way to here, so I can just go there, place my cursor right here, and slowly move. For some reason it's not, but look, see, go right here, and it's gonna match this point, and I click there. And at this time I can just go right here, and I would know what my distance is right here if I would look at my actual exercise. But if I don't know, I can pause right here and say, okay, exit there, and I am going to actually draw my miter line, my 45-degree angle line. So I click line, and I know that it's supposed to extend from here, but I don't want to draw a line and then have to erase it. So if I use my object snap track, and look, I can just go, and I know that it's gonna continue in this direction, so I go there, and I said I'm going to align it with this one right here. So when that occurs, that's the location, and then I actually go right here, and I know that if I activate my polar track in my F10 temporarily, it will give me a line at a 45-degree angle right here. Enter. Okay, so now I can actually go and say, well, this line has already gone right here. I need to project the other end, so I could go and say line, and I know that I can go from here, and I don't have to draw the line. I can just go and say, well, if I go from here, when I intersect, that's where my line is to go. And then I can go from here and say, well, I want this line to actually start from here. So I don't have to draw that extra line right there. See this? See that? I can go from here, and I know that from there, I don't even have the measurements. I just know that they have to match the overall distance right here. So I know that the overall distance goes from here all the way down. So if I go from here to here, and just bring that, look, there. And now I know for sure that it goes from one end to the other end, because remember that this distance, the depth, is the same depth right here. And I could also just go right here and say, well, now I can create another line from here to there, because that's what I need. And that line doesn't exist, so it goes away. So what do I need now? I'm going to need a center line right here, but I'm going to need two hidden lines, one for this one and one for this other end, one for one side and the other side of the hole right here, and the same one right here, but they seem to be concentric. So even though this one covers all the way from the top to the bottom, this one it's only in the lower part. But because they're concentric, they're going to be aligned in the same direction. So I create the line from the top all the way down, and it's going to cover both the upper part and the lower part right here. But before I do that, so that I don't have to repeat my work, I better go and change to my correct layer. So I go and select hidden, and I'm there. And I simply go and I said, okay, line, and it's going to go from here to here, right? And from there, it's going to go from here, there. And the other side, I could do the same thing. I could mirror the line. I could do anything, because I know that they're equal distance, the same distance here and there. So I could mirror this line if I wanted to practice other modify commands right here. I can simply go and create that other line right here. So whichever works better for me. If I decide to mirror, I select my mirror command right here, select my object, I get my midpoint, and then I mirror that, and then hit enter. Got it. Then I know that I need to have a center line right here, just as I created this one right here. So I want to make sure that I go to my center line, to the layer that I need, and I go to my annotate center line. That center line is going to be center between these two lines right here, right? And you will see that I have somewhat of an error right here. Why? Because I created this as a solid line. This right here, it's a two-part line. Therefore, it's not going to create a center line going from this end to that end, because it's using this as my reference. So that would have been a mistake that I could have made right here, because I was showing you how to create those lines. So now that I can see my mistake. I can go say, you know what, let me delete those lines, and I'm going to simply draw one line right here. And you see what happens when you make mistakes. I made the mistake of making this line 2 parts, and I also right now made the mistake of not changing to the correct layer. But I know that if I use my match properties command right here, I can very quickly go and say that to that right there. Okay, so I get that, and now I can actually go and say, well, annotate. Okay, so home, center, annotate, center line between this line and this line, and enter. Okay, so now I have that, and I see that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different points that need to project through the miter line and down. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm done in that direction. I just need to check my front and my right side view. So there's 1, 2, 3 points going across. I see 1 and 2, which means I'm missing 1. So I'm going to have to go back, change to my object lines because that's where it needs to go, and I'm going to create a line that goes from here because this edge has to reflect over there. So I activate and make sure that I have my object snap tracking active. So I just go from here. I know it needs to align right here. I follow, and when I find that intersection, I go from there perpendicular, and I create that part, and it looks like I am finished. So I'm able to do my line weight display right here. Okay, I can see that. Now I can turn it off, and I know that I use my object snap tracking. If you use this, if you learn to use this, it's going to help you a lot. It's a very, very convenient tool that you use, and it will help you speed up your work quite a bit. You're done with this, you select this, you delete it, you can leave it there. It doesn't matter if you put it there. I see that, you know, what kind of work you're doing, making sure that you know how to project properly. All you have to do now is add your name somewhere. We know how to do the text. Add your name somewhere right here, save it, and your handout says save it to the H drive, obviously, because we're not in the classroom. You're not going to save to the H drive, so save it to your assignments folder that you have created on your personal computer, and then you will send that to me via email, whether it's a DWG or PDF file. Okay? Alrighty. Then we are done with our line weight, with our object snap tracking right here, and actually we're done with our right side view. Okay, I'll see you in the next video.